8 people died at Travis Scott's Astroworld festival. Could this have been prevented? Absolutely yes. Hello, my name is Bridget. I'm a nurse practitioner. First, there were way too many people there. If you want to have that many people at a festival, then you need to take the necessary precautions and have a larger space. But people were literally packed in there like sardines. There's multiple accounts of people saying that they literally had to look up just to be able to breathe because they were so crowded. They felt suffocated.
I couldn't even turn my head to tell my boyfriend anything. I mean, we were packed in there, so I had people shoving me from behind, shoving me from the front, on both sides. It's getting really hard to breathe. I was trying to like jump up and lift my head up so I could get air.
The concert should have immediately been stopped once people started rushing the stage. Travis Scott claims that he wasn't aware that this was happening. All right, fine. But then where was security? So many things that could be put in place, like most artists have earpieces in. So I don't care what they needed to do. I don't care if they needed to tell Travis Scott in his earpiece. They could have made an announcement overhead. They could have just stopped the music. But literally, people were dropping dead and they were performing CPR and the concert was still going on. Like, that's disgusting. That's ridiculous. High schoolers were climbing up on stage, begging them to stop the show.
That's okay with you real quick. Chase me, let's do it.
Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show!
I mean, what if these Good Samaritans hadn't even bothered to do that? How many more people would have died? That was a huge oversight by Travis Scott's team and Travis Scott himself. Immediately, once this started happening, security should have notified the performers and everything should have been stopped. There were not enough medical staff and there was not enough security. There was an ICU nurse there from Texas and she was helping out during the situation. And not only did she say that there wasn't enough medical staff, she said some medical staff appeared to know what they were doing, but others just seemed completely clueless. So better screening on who are you hiring for these emergencies. And the people that did know what they were doing, they didn't have the necessary medical equipment in order to do their jobs. So have more security. Have more medical personnel. Make sure that they're knowledgeable. Have more AEDs available. According to this nurse from Texas, there was only one AED available in a crowd of 50,000 people. Just to give you some perspective, yes, it's in a hospital. But on a med tele floor, on average, there's 2 crash carts. And that has all of the equipment needed to resuscitate an individual. On a PCU floor, you may have up to 4 crash carts available. So imagine in a crowd of 50,000 people and 1 AED, that is absolutely ridiculous. On top of that, there was also only 1 stretcher and there was no parameters set in place. The medical team couldn't get to the victims. So they need to have pathways available and open so that medical teams can get to the victims as soon as possible, get in and get out. Not giving medical teams the equipment that they need is equivalent to a firefighter showing up to a fire, not having a water hose available. We need medical equipment in order to be able to do our jobs. Yes, we can do CPR and we can give breaths, resuscitation breaths, but that's not enough.
It was like hell. 4 or 5 people in front of me were getting cardiac arrest. This was appalling.
Now, Travis Scott has a history of inciting riots. This is not the first time that this has happened, and this really makes me upset. In 2015, Travis Scott was arrested for disorderly conduct when he told people to climb over security barricades during his performance at Lollapalooza. During this performance, he urged the crowd to rush the stage. Organizers said that it was a dangerous situation, but security was able to get it under control. So there was enough security. And again, this goes back to having enough security available. There was enough security there to be able to stop or prevent a tragedy from happening. Then in 2017, Travis took a plea deal after he was arrested in May on suspicion of inciting a riot while performing at the Walmart AMP. He pled guilty and paid only $7,465. Now, for you and me, this may be a lot of money. For Travis Scott, his net worth is $60 million. $7,000 is a drop in the bucket for him. That is nothing. That is barely a slap on the wrist. So this man has a history of inciting riots. The warning signs were there. I mean, if this was a novel, we would have said like, oh, this is foreshadowing to a tragic event. The warning signs are there. He hasn't learned from his mistakes. You know, this is another reason I normally do not drag people. But when you have a pattern of repeated behavior and you do not learn from that behavior, the blood is on your hands. The blood is on Travis Scott's hands and it's on his team's hands, and he needs to be held accountable. So in 2017, several people were injured during the rush. In 2019, 3 people were hospitalized at Astroworld with minor leg injuries, and several 2019 attendees told a news channel that the event had been poorly organized and that they hoped 2021 would be better organized. It wasn't. Why support an artist that clearly does not care about the well-being of his fans? Barely any preventive measures were put in place. So these basic things should be in place for pretty much any festival. This was based on a study that was published in Pre-Hospital and Disaster Medicine. They need to develop and drill incident action plans. So, for example, in a mass casualty scenario, what are we gonna do? Where are we going? What vehicles? How are we gonna get patients? How are we gonna get to the victims? Drills all the time. That's what needs to be in place. These people need to be prepared for these situations. Also, people need to be able to clearly identify medical personnel. Free drinking water should be provided to attendees to help prevent dehydration and passing out. You know, based on what I've heard from people that attended, they were charging like $7 per bottle of water, so water was not provided. They need to designate multiple access points for emergency medical personnel in order to be able to transport people again in a mass casualty event. And at a minimum, provide the following supplies. Again, at a minimum: AEDs, more than just one, more than just 2. They need to have enough stretchers available. They need to have ACLS, which is the advanced cardiac life support medication, such as epinephrine, available. So that needs to be available at those concerts. Also, again, Travis Scott's net worth is $60 million. He can afford to have an emergency medicine physician there. This is also something that, according to the study, helps prevent even a lot of people needing to be transferred to the hospital. Having a physician, emergency medicine physician there, not a family practice physician, emergency medicine. That is his specialty in these emergency situations. So the correct specialty is important to be there as well. They need to have Narcan available in case somebody overdoses. They need to have intravenous fluids. Again, if someone passes out due to dehydration or their blood pressure bottoms out, IV fluids can help bring their blood pressure up. Benzodiazepines, advanced airway equipment, and rapid sequence intubation medications. So if you need to intubate somebody, again, all of this equipment should have been available, and it was not available. Yes, Travis Scott has offered to pay for the funeral costs of the families. I don't know about you, but for me, too little, too late. If this was my family member, no amount of money in the world would bring back my loved one. Yes, Travis Scott is facing multiple lawsuits, but again, to me, in my opinion, he needs to be held accountable with more than just financial. Like I said, he has a history of inciting riots, so clearly his behavior has escalated and he hasn't learned from his past behaviors. Apologies without change don't mean anything to me. What a tragedy. I mean, 8 human lives were lost, dozens were injured. It's just, I'm disgusted by Travis Scott, I'm disgusted by his team, and that they let it get to this point.